Everybody, welcome to another awesome episode of MD Power Hour, starring from the United Kingdom, Sir Giles Tiger Thomas, and from here in Massachusetts, the greatest state in the United States of America, me, Ron Harris. Giles, how are you, sir? How are you, sir? This fine
I'm
day.
very good. Obviously, being a Brit, I'm getting very excited about King Charles being coronated tomorrow. Not.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm quite excited about it, actually. It's quite a big deal. And, no one can do pomp and ceremony like the Brits, mate. So yeah, I'll be watching that on TV for a little bit tomorrow. Yeah, it'll be
How
fun.
old is Charles now?
Oh, he's in his 70s. He's old.
So how long did he get to be king now? How long do you think he's, well, the Queen lived to be what, 120, 140? What was she?
326 she lived to.
Okay, so he's got a little time to enjoy being king, but my whole life, even when I was a little kid, I remember, okay, well, there's Prince Charles. He's going to be king, but this queen doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and she seems pretty old. And that was in the 70s. She was old.
Yeah.
80s. It took her a long, yeah. You British royals, they got the secret there, the fountain of youth or something. But
Yeah, she
okay.
sure did hang on quite right to the end, and she was working right up to the day before.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, God bless her. God save the queen. Yeah.
That'll be like you and me, mate.
I don't know if I want to be working up until the very end. At least I want to have a couple of vacation days before I die. But so you had a great global muscle episode with Samson Dauda, the Arnold Classic champion, and Derek Farnsworth, who's going to Masters Olympia. But Samson, I'm getting chills, and I'm sure you're getting super chills. He could win this Olympia. I don't think it's a year ago, if you said Samson Dauda could win the Olympia, everybody like, yeah, whatever, Samson Dauda, come on. What, in 10 years? No. This year he might win the Olympia, but we got Hadi Choopan, the defending champion. I know it's only May, guys, but we're getting excited now. This is our big show. Derek Lunsford, another, obviously he's the heavy favorite because he's the runner-up and he's so close. But what are your thoughts? I love Hadi Choopan. I think he's a great guy, great physique, but I just feel like Samson or Derek might be a little more effective in ambassadorship type of role as far as doing a lot of interviews and press. Hadi, unfortunately, he can't. He doesn't speak any English. He's hearing impaired, so we don't get to see a lot of content with him. And I'd love to see Samson as Mr. Olympia going on every podcast and maybe some TV talk show. Well, they still have TV talk shows. Yeah, maybe The View or something. But yeah, you must. I could see when you interviewed him. You were as happy for his win, it seemed, when you were recounting it, as he was.
Yeah. Well, afterwards, me and Derek went to the steakhouse in Bradford called Toro's. And I said, Derek, I says, mate, I took my jacket off and I said, my shirt is soaking wet. There was such energy. And if you notice, Derek came in on the interview as well because I had his mic set up for Hot News. And he was kind of joining in. He said, oh, sorry, Giles. I kind of got completely taken away. He says, I couldn't help myself. He said, I had to kind of just join in, So it was kind of like I had a bit of a co-host as well. But I mean, like I said at the start of the interview, I held off as long as possible with Samson because I wanted the effects of his life changing, like that 300K and everything else, and him going up a huge level. I wanted to actually leave it a few weeks because I'm lucky that I can get Samson whenever I want, really, because he's so accessible. He's always been like, I always say to like Lauren or Derek, I say, God, I wish every pro was as easy to work with, and I said to Derek, I said, look, this will be an easy one. I says, you watch. I said, I barely have to say much. I said, he will just go and he will give us gold. And that's exactly what he gave us. So I was on a buzz, mate, and it was so good. And and then when he did that little bit at the end, I just thought this is a really good place to stop because he would have gone on and on and on because his energy is incredible. Like when I stayed at his house, I mean, it was 12:30 and I said, mate, you better get to bed. I said, you've got the Arnold Classic in a few weeks, I said, get yourself to bed, mate. I said, because his energy is infectious. And that's obviously partly responsible why he's improved so much. I mean, November 2021, he was 270 on stage. And then less than a year and a half later, he's 297 in better condition. I mean, the guy is just so motivated. And it's funny because he just moved to that house and he's just done it all up. And it looks beautiful because I stayed with him last year. And he says, yeah, we're pretty much looking to move again now. So it's like the rate of progress of everything, every element of his life, and how could you not want to root for the guy? I mean, he's just, what he's gone through in the last couple of years, the hardships and, and losing John Meadows and then losing his job and, the financial stresses. And, it's just such a feel-good story in bodybuilding, which I think we need a lot of, because there's been a lot of kind of negatives in the sport in the last few years with people dying and stuff like that. And then someone like Samson comes along and he's just like a breath of fresh air. But in answer to what you've just, sorry, not for what you've just said, response to what you've just said, I think that I'd be very surprised if Derek, Hadi, and Samson aren't the top three in November.
I mean, there's only a couple of people that realistically even have a chance of pushing ahead of them. You still got Nick Walker in the mix, and improved Andrew Jack could jump in there. Rami might even surprise us. And stranger things have happened. We thought Cutler was all done after 2008 when he got the Stranger Thing. Oh,
Did you see what? Sorry, did you see what I wrote? I said, could Rami pull an '09 Cutler? Because
yeah.
I didn't expect him to look as good as he did at the Arnold Classic. I didn't expect that. I expected him to be kind of worse than he was at Olympia, and he was not. He was a lot better.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he could do that again, I mean, stranger things have happened. Like with Jay Cutler in '09, no one expected that. So if he could do something like that, I tell you what, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets back in the mix.
And you know what? As much as we were rooting for Samson and Derek and other guys too, we don't have the same connection. I don't know Rami as well as I know Derek and as well as Samson, but I'd be very happy for the man. He's a great guy, humble, hardworking, always smiling, positive attitude. I'd love to see him get his title back too. So
And also, do you remember the hate that Jay Cutler had in '07 and '08?
mm,
And then the love he got when he did what he did in 2009. I've never seen such a turnaround in the industry in anything before. I mean, Jay Cutler in '07 and '08 on the forums, on everywhere, he got so much hate. And then as soon as he did that, what he did at Olympia and did that foot stomp, and everyone just did a complete 180, and we all love Jay again.
yeah, I mean, bodybuilding fans have short memories. Your last show that they sort of think about that and criticize you for that, unless you come up at the next show, come up on stage looking just phenomenal, and then all is forgotten, all is forgiven. You're back in everyone's good graces. Now they're back on your jock, as we say. So we'll
Yeah,
see what happens.
yeah, but Jay didn't go back to looking how he did in say '05, '06, or '01. He came back with something completely different that we didn't expect. I think the shock of that, I think, is that sent shockwaves through the sport, and I remember it well. I remember the holy shit moment when he walked out. It was such a
Yeah, because we had seen. I think Branch was the first one that came out that year, 2009,
moment
and
in Olympia that you
yeah,
just never ever forget.
right. And we had a little lag there. So I want to get into this topic today. It's something that's been going on in the media here for a couple of years, a few years, and it's a narrative that's being pushed on the American public, probably the entire world, but I'm noticing it more in the US, is this fat acceptance movement. And we saw magazine covers about a year ago with overweight women saying this is healthy, and they're promoting, they're plus size mannequins now, and they're trying to normalize being overweight, being obese. And I want to say right up front, I don't want anyone to feel ashamed of themselves or have low self-esteem or feel bad when they look in the mirror. But at the same time, I don't want anyone being unhealthy and being led to believe that that is healthy and that you can continue on that path of gaining weight and neglecting your health, poor nutrition, lack of exercise, and that's going to have a good outcome. And yeah, I think it's a big conspiracy. I really do. On the
Yeah.
part of, here's my theory: follow the money. Who stands to gain the most profits from people becoming more and more overweight? What's your guess?
Well, when I'm in America, so I have to turn the TV off because it gives me anxiety. American TV gives me anxiety because you'll see the adverts and it's all about like junk food and stuff like that, and then the next advert will be about weight loss drugs or weight loss surgery. There's a sort of, like you said, follow the money. There's a cause and an effect and a cure. Do you know what I mean? For everything, because there's money to be made. That is why. And I'm I mean, I was watching a debate on a TV show a few weeks ago, and they were saying that, should doctors even be allowed to tell patients that they're overweight and they should do something about it? They're saying, look, you shouldn't. This is fat shaming, and it's like, and the response was kind of 50-50. It was split. Obviously, I'm on the side of I mean, they use the word fat, and it's like, look, a doctor won't tell you you're fat, but the doctor should tell you, look, you're a little bit overweight, and your health will suffer, with cancer, diabetes, all these different, because obesity, especially in the UK, I mean, it is killing the NHS. It's killing our health service, because it's a big problem. It's a huge problem. you know. So in terms of that, I think it's something that does need to be addressed. I mean, like Jordan Peterson got he got cancelled off, he got banned off Twitter because one of the things he said was, you know, that overweight lady on the front cover of Sports Illustrated, and he was saying, look, this is her being exploited. He said, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is, you know, she is not. You can't, you know, say this is not a sporty, healthy look. You can't put it on Sports Illustrated. You know, don't call it what it isn't. So yeah, it's a big problem, and I think it's all part of this woke culture. And I think you're not helping people. Like if I joined the doctor when I had some blood tests years ago when I was taking a lot of gear and stuff, and he said, look, he says your you know, your cholesterol and your LDL HDL. I mean, he told me straight. He said, look, you're in a serious like health scare here, you know. So he told me,
Yeah,
you know, and then I was like, oh God, it scared me, but I did something about it, you know.
yeah,
So not be able to tell someone they're overweight and all that in a doctor's surgery is absolute madness.
100%. So let's look at the health risks that you're going to have as an obese person. People who have overweight, I pulled this from, you know, one of the main health websites. People who have overweight or obesity compared to those with healthy weight are increased risk for many serious diseases and health inclusions. And these include all causes of death, mortality, meaning if you're obese, you're not going to live as long.
Yep.
How many 600-pound people that are 80 years old have you ever seen? You're never gonna see one. They're never gonna make it that
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
High
Sure.
blood pressure, aka hypertension, high LDL cholesterol, low HDL cholesterol, the good one, or high levels of triglycerides called dyslipidemia, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, is there more? Stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis. Oh, I think it goes into a second page here. Osteoarthritis, a breakdown of cartilage and bone within a joint, because none of our connective tissues were meant to support those kind of weight loads. Sleep apnea and breathing problems, major problem, because you're literally choking to death while you're asleep. Many types of cancer, low quality of life, mental illness such as clinical depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders, and finally body pain and difficulty functioning. Yeah. So why would you choose? So, but following the money, we just listed a whole litany of conditions for which there are prescription drugs available to treat or to treat the symptoms of, anyway, if not cure. Big pharma is a $1 trillion industry, $1 trillion. They make so much money by keeping people unhealthy. It is not in their best interest or their shareholders or stockholders for people to be healthy. It's in their best interest financially to keep people sick, so they keep having to buy cholesterol medication, hypertension, you know, insulin. And the healthcare industry, they have to go to the doctor every week. I mean, some of these obese people, I've known people who had to be sort of caretakers for them. They're at the doctors all the time because their health is horrible. So to push this narrative that being overweight is okay and it's healthy, it's a huge disservice. It's going to kill a lot of people. Literally, it's going to kill a lot of people. I don't know, how bad are things getting in the UK, because I don't think you have the obesity problem there that we have here yet, but it's probably coming.
We do have a big problem in the UK. Something like I forget the percentage now, but like children are obese.
Mm,
You know, it's
mm,
like the highest percentage ever.
mm.
But have you heard about this? Oh, before I say that, I mean, I'll be honest though. There's a difference between American fat and European fat, because I remember when I first started going to America, when I suppose as soon as I landed and I got to an airport, the fat people there look different. The overweight people, like you'll get guys with like a face like mine, you know, quite slim,
Yeah.
and then they have like pear shaped. I mean, it's to do with their hormones. It's to do with the foods. My blood sugar raises as soon as I get to America because I can smell like those cinnamon buns, you know, and it's just sugar. Because I think like now we're starting to realize through education that, you know, fat is even saturated fat isn't as even as bad as we thought it was. It's sugar. Sugar is the worst drug, white powder, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
on the planet. Sugar is the devil. You know, I mean, would kill me. Do you know what I mean? If you could give me
Yeah.
a bag of sugar, I've been a diabetic. It would literally kill me. Do you know what I mean? So
Literally.
I've had really high blood sugar, and I tell you what, it's not fun. But I think we've sold a lie, you know, with things like junk food and hidden sugars, and Like there's only like protein bars. There's only like the grenade bars. They're the only protein bars I can eat without it's triggering my blood sugar. Because all these other protein bars that say only 1 gram of sugar, it's not. It's the polyols in it. There's 7 calories a gram. They're not classed as a carb. They're not classed as a protein or a fat. But it's the hidden sugars that still act in the body like sugar. So a lot of it is irresponsible packaging and kind of and just bullshit, you know. So, but have you heard about this new weight loss injection?
Injection. I know about Ozempic. Is that an injection?
I'm not sure what the name of it, but it's they've started. But apparently the UK and those other countries got outbid from America. America is paying 6 times as much for the like the bulk of it. You know, like with the vaccine. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was outbidding each other and trying to buy it up because. But America is they've seen the business opportunity in this and they are jumping on it. So I expect to see like they were asking whether it should be given on the free health service in the UK, and there's a lot of debate about it at the moment over here.
So that company holds the patent for that particular drug. That's billions and billions and billions of dollars are going to make because most people who are overweight, I think I think most overweight people would prefer not to be overweight, but it's going to require effort and discipline on their part to exercise, to go into a hypocalorie. That's it, calories in versus calories out. So if their BMI, if they're taking in 8,000 calories a day and their body only really requires 2,000, obviously they're going to get fatter and fatter. It's just too much surplus. So they're going to look to something quick. They're going to look for a pill. They're going to look for an injection. And weight loss pills and drugs have always been huge, huge sellers because they prey on people's essential laziness. People would rather do nothing than have to do something and get a result out of it. But Ozempic is a huge thing now. It started with is it a diabetes drug? Is that what it was for? Ozempic?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like I said, they haven't really described it yet, but it's just that the talk has just started in the last couple of weeks because they're saying, should we give this on the NHS to?
Wow.
But the thing is, you are yes, it should be used for obese people, but you're probably going to get like freaking bikini girls who are 2 ounces overweight. You're going to get normal people using this. You're going to see normal people who sort of feel a couple of pounds over and who are going to be able to get access to it either on private healthcare or through, the black market, because if you really want to get something, we can pretty much get it.
Yeah, it was actually, it got all over the news because Hollywood celebrities were supposedly all jumping on Ozempic and using that. And
yeah,
the majority of them they're not overweight. They just want to be a little skinnier. And they were even coming up with this, a side effect called Ozempic face, where I guess it sucks the fat from their face and they start looking really, really haggard and drawn.
No.
I wanted to bring up, so the fat acceptance movement, it's sort of like a political movement now where I don't know if there's organizations, and again, I don't want people being discriminated against. Handicapped people should have access to buildings, all that. I believe in all that stuff. But the last thing I heard was they were campaigning so that airlines couldn't charge obese people for an extra seat if they required 2 seats because they were so big. They shouldn't have to pay for an extra seat or a giant first class seat. The airlines should accommodate their extra size, which, for the rest of us, that's crazy. And I mean, every time I go on a plane, I usually get the aisle seat anyway, but I'm always praying that I don't get a really heavy person because we have in America, we have a lot of obese people. Like half of America is technically overweight or obese.
Wow.
So I'm sitting there and I'm watching the people come down the aisle. I'm like, don't sit next to me. Don't sit next to me. If I see someone really big, because if they're that big, airline seats are only this. They're only this wide. They can't help themselves, and it's not their fault. But they spill over, and then you're like this the whole flight because they're taking up half your space. There's nothing they can do about it. Just their arm over the armrest, this big fat bulky arm is like avalanche of body fat, and I don't think we should accommodate, obesity, and to me that encourages it. There's no reason. There's no incentive for these people if they're being told it's healthy and there's just a pill for that or injection. We'll just take care of it with some drugs. They're really making it so that obesity is not going to be going downward over the years. I think it's just going to keep going up and up to the point where I bet if it keeps going at this rate, we're going to have 80-90% of the USA is going to be overweight. I mean, we're not that far off now.
Well, I mean, in the UK, I mean, I remember a friend of my sister's, and she got breast implants on the NHS, on the National Health Service,
Oh, wow.
because she said she had such small breasts. She was so meant she was she actually smashed up the doctor's office because she said she was so mentally affected. So they
Wow.
signed it off and said, yes, you clearly have mental health issues because of your. So we're going to pay for you to have for free to have breast implants. So stuff like that, this is, it's like, say, with on flights, like tall people have to pay, they'll have to get special seats, because I mean, I'm 6 foot, 6'1". I mean, I struggle sometimes to fit in the seats. Like I was, when I came over for the Olympia in December, I was surprised actually, because well, British Airways, I was like, oh wow, British Airways, that's the gold standard. And I tell you what, it really wasn't, because I was right at the back, and I really struggled. I was literally, I had to sort of stay upright. I couldn't really relax much. I was expecting, with a transatlantic flight, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a really nice big plane, and it wasn't. They'd obviously just crammed more seats in. So if I'd have been tall and overweight, that would have been a very, very unpleasant 8 or 9 hours. So I don't know. I think with like I said, I think you can't just yeah, I think with pandering to stuff like that, I don't know, it is a tough debate. I do,
Well,
but you know
so, I people are going to go into the comments, so I want to sort of get ahead of that, saying, a lot of people, you're not even talking about why people are overweight. There's, people of depression, there's trauma. A
yeah.
lot of women have been sexually abused, assaulted. There's all kinds of reasons, mentally, psychologically, why people turn to food for comfort. You know, it's a lot of things that people might need therapy for, counseling for. That's where I think the medical community, the medical industry should be shifting these people towards, rather than just throwing drugs at them, encouraging them to continue on the path of obesity, and just saying, well, we'll just give you drugs to treat all these bad things that are going to happen to your body because you're overweight. If they could get to the root of the problem, I'm all for that. Put these people, give them the therapy they need, the counseling, psychiatrists, whatever it takes, because I think deep down, a lot of people, if they could face these traumas from their past or whatever, that would probably go a long way toward them having a different relationship with food, with exercise, just having a more self-esteem. I think that would be the most effective way to treat obesity, rather than just throwing drugs at it.
Yeah, well, my sister's just had, she's just paid for a gastric sleeve.
Oh,
So she went to Turkey, and she had, and the surgeon, she's already lost about 30 pounds. It was only in the last few weeks.
wow.
But I said to her, I said, look, is it just a matter of having the surgery and then bang, 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 just the weight falls off? She says, no, no, because I've got to watch my diet. I've got a high protein, low carb, low fat, low calories. She said, she sent me a list of all these things that she has to do. But so I mean, she's had years of therapy as well. She's had a lot of psychological issues over the years, stemming from her childhood. But stop it, Blitz. Sorry, the cat. So yeah, but she said this was the best thing she's ever done, because she's a very active person, but she was very large, but she said she's very, very happy she's had it done now. But maybe that someone like that could have benefited from that weight loss injection. I don't know. It's because it's very hard for me to to really tune into that, because I've always had a good relationship with food.
Yeah.
It's all the other things I haven't. Drugs, alcohol, gear, and all that.
Yeah,
But
we've been
food,
we've
I've
been
never really had an issue, even though one of my ex-girlfriends sent me a load of pictures from 2000, 2001, and I couldn't believe. I mean, I'll send them to Jen, see if she'll edit them in, because I was really shocked. I didn't realize I was quite that, podgy,
I saw
so
that. I saw one of those pictures that I think you posted in our group chat or something,
yeah.
on our group text chat. And I was like, geez, Giles, I didn't know you were ever that heavy. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I was,
I was when I was at my peak of training as well. But I had quite a bit of muscle, but I also had quite a lot of body fat as well, and I didn't realize until I saw it.
I spent most of my 20s overweight. Just, I was a
Really?
natural, well, I was a natural bodybuilder. And to bulk up, I used to drink, you're old and you're not quite old enough to remember. Maybe you are. They used to have these weight gain shakes that would come anywhere from 2,000 to, I think, at one point, I want to say 10,000 calories or so,
Yeah.
something stupid. I know they had a 5,000. Weeder had one, Twin Lab had one, Gainers Fuel 5,000, and they were just loaded with sugar to get the calorie count up, and fats and things like that. And I was addicted to seeing the number on the scale go up, and I
Mm.
didn't. I was able to. We talked about denial before. I was able to really look in the mirror and not see how fat I was getting. Occasionally I would see a photo and go, is that a double chin? Do I have like love handles over my belt line? I guess I do. But I got to about 230 pounds naturally. And underneath that, when I would diet down, I was still about 175, 180 at the most.
Wow.
So that tells you that was just a lot of excess fat. But and I had no idea. I really thought I was getting big and strong and buff. But no,
Yeah, the
it's
thing is, because when I was like that, I was probably at my strongest. I'm squatting like four and a half plates, and
yeah, yeah,
benching 315 and stuff, which isn't. I mean, it's not massive amounts, but I'm never,
very good.
that was strong for me. Do you know what I mean? Shoulder
Yeah,
press 105s, 110s. But because you've got all that fluid in the joint and stuff like that.
yeah.
But yeah, those were the days, weren't they? But and also, you weren't taking gear at that time, so imagine all the water retention on top of that. You'd have had a head like a freaking football, mate.
Well, I did, I continued my bulking. Even when I started gear, I would do bulking seasons and I would get to 240 plus. I think I was on 248 was like my high point at one year. And
Wow.
that was like 8 years, like 7 or 8 years ago. Then I did have the extra water retention. Those pictures, like you'll never see one posted. I will never post those pictures. Just absolutely disgusting. My head was like a pumpkin.
Oh,
I mean, my eyes were like little beady things inside these fat cheeks, and oh no, it was just a bad because you have all that fat, and then you have all the water from the test and the D-ball or anadrol on top of that. Bad look. But one thing that strikes me as ironic about the USA and our obesity problem is there's a gym on literally every corner, everywhere. And we have, I talk shit about Planet Fitness, all us bodybuilders do, but that's $10 a month and they have all kinds of cardio, beautiful cardio equipment in that place. They have all the basic machines. It's enough for anybody. Even if we had to work out there, we could do it. We wouldn't be happy.
yeah,
But especially a regular person and they just need to lose weight, that'd be perfect for them. And who doesn't have $10 a month? So there's no reason except for people don't like to exercise. And I'll go back to my late mother was overweight. And I used to try to get her. She got more and more immobile as the years went by because she laid in bed all day and watched TV. That's all she did. And it became harder and harder for her to walk until eventually she could barely walk. She could only walk a few steps and people had to help her and she had to get a walker. Um, but I would say, if you would just walk, just start doing little walks, you get some energy and this and that. And she go, but I don't have the energy. And I said, you don't understand. If you did that, you would have the energy. It's that
yeah,
paradox where people they have no motivation to work out because they don't feel they have the energy. Maybe they feel like they're going to be judged or something if they go to a gym where people are going to make fun of them, which is absolutely revolting. If I ever
yeah,
see anybody post Joey Swoll has done a good job with this, trying to elevate gym culture and stop people from shaming anybody. But anyone out there, if you ever see an overweight person at the gym, go out of your way to be nice to them, be helpful to them, encourage them, support them. I heard a quote. I can't take credit. I wish I could. Making fun of a fat person at the gym is like making fun of a homeless person at a job fair. Someone who's
yeah.
someone who's in a bad spot and they're really trying their best to get out of it and change their life. So that's one thing, guys. If you know someone, everyone knows someone who's overweight. You might be related to someone, it might be a brother, sister, spouse, child. Encourage them in a positive way. Don't shame them. Don't say, you fat ass, you need to get to the gym. You have to do it in such a way that really makes them see that this is going to be a positive change in your life. Because I don't want to just rail about, oh, we can't accept fat people. We have to offer some sort of solutions, or else we're just as guilty as any other a-hole.
I remember when I was a teenager and I had this girlfriend, and when she was 8 years old, her mother had stood in front of the mirror and said, "You're fat." She just told her that, and she wasn't. And when I was with her, she struggled with depression, and because I didn't know about depression, I was a teenager. Do you know what I mean? And her weight would fluctuate anywhere from like under 100 pounds to maybe up to 170, depending.
Wow.
It really affected us. So a lot of these people do have, like my oldest sister. She's got a lot of trauma as well. From her childhood. She had a rough time. But and I don't think people realize sometimes, it's not just because people are just fat and greedy. It's actually some people have got serious issues. Like other people manifest it in different ways through alcohol or bad relationships or toxic, or they're gravitated towards toxic people, or we all have our sort of our issues, you know. I mean, I bloody certainly do. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah, sure.
I've really fought with things over the years with different substances and stuff like that, you know. And
Yeah,
thank God I'm still alive, you know, to sort of tell the tale. Because,
yeah, you and
you
me
know,
both.
looking back now, I mean, I was thinking, you know, if I could go back to my 25-year-old self, I'd sit him down and have a proper word with him and say, look, what you're doing is not healthy. You know, you are rich, you're self-sabotaging yourself. You know, what you're doing is it's not healthy physically or mentally, you know, and it really wasn't, you know. So but like you said about people like at the gym and stuff, you know, and I have huge respect for people that really want to get up and do something about it, you know, because you know there's that's one of the things I like about bodybuilding actually. Like a lot of the people who either compete or don't compete anymore, when you see and they go into like coaching or personal training and you see these transformations of
Mm.
these people that were really like 300 pounds obese, and then you see these pictures of them 6 months later and they've just imparted their knowledge to these people that really wanted to make changes. And I just think that's absolutely incredible. I never get bored of seeing that, and I think it's something really that because when we bodybuild, we you know, you and I, you know, we read everything, we watched all the videos of the bodybuilders, and we go to the seminars, and we try and learn as much as we can because we want to look a certain way. And the thing is, over the years, you accrue a lot of really helpful knowledge that you can apply to other people. You know, I mean, I remember speaking to my dad years ago about certain things about diet and fluid intake and just basic stuff, you know, and like, Dad, you put a bit too much salt on your food there, and you know, and like maybe just, you know, go for the organic food and stuff like that. Little simple changes that probably extended his life, you know. But I think that's one thing I do, like I said, I do like about bodybuilding is that they do have the knowledge they can impart to kind of the general public, and I think it's something really overlooked in this industry.
You know, there's so many people who work now as online coaches, thousands and thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to some people who are in our industry who are very, very successful. Some of them have hundreds of clients. And I like to ask them this question: what do you get more satisfaction of, competitors or lifestyle clients? And almost every single one of them says lifestyle clients without pause,
There you go.
because you're changing someone's life. If you can take someone who's 100 pounds overweight and get that 100 pounds away from, you just extended their life. You know, you reduce their risk for all those conditions we talked about at the beginning. They look so much better, they feel so much better, so much more confident. You literally changed their life. Whereas, you know, a competitor, they want to win a contest. They want to go from 10% body fat to 2% body fat. And, you know, it's a whole other, it's not as rewarding in the same way, because yeah, you might help someone achieve a goal that they had of doing well or winning a contest. But anyone out there who's an online coach and you haven't considered, you know, lifestyle clients, regular people, there's plenty of people out there that need help. Like you said, when you talk to your dad, it makes you realize that as bodybuilders, we're so much more advanced in our knowledge of things like nutrition than most people. The average person is just clueless. Like they'll think, oh, skip it, I should skip breakfast, I should do, you know, they have it all backwards as far as how to stoke the metabolism with, you know, multiple small meals, the way bodybuilders eat. They really think starving is the way to do it. And I say, no, because you're going to starve all day, and then nighttime rolls around. What happens? Now you're just famished and you're ravenous. You can't get enough food down your throat, and you're just watching TV and putting down, you know, 5, 7, 8,000 calories of mostly sugar for most people.
I spoke to a friend of mine yesterday, very knowledgeable person in the industry, because I've been struggling with my energy levels last few weeks. I haven't been
Mm.
very well, and I said to him, I said, I'm on all these medications. I said, I really want to get off some of them. And he said, well, look, he said, because he's gone through something similar, you know, and
Mm.
his knowledge, he says, well, look, he said, you're probably deficient in D3. He said, but take it with K1. He says, because that will help it absorb. He said, that will help your energy levels. He said, half one of those medications. He said, because that's too much. He said, that I went on that and it wiped me out. He said sunlight will really help you, you know, with your vitamin D3 production. He said the doctors won't have this knowledge. And he said, look, he says, no, like with the metformin and stuff, and you know the insulin. He says, get some berberine and go on this dosage. He
Mm.
says within a few days, he says your blood sugar will plummet. And I was like, you know, like the doctor, if they'd have said, what's berberine? He would have said, what's berberine? I mean, I tried having a talk with my doctor about diet once, and it was just like, it was embarrassing. I actually, like, I was like, wow. Like I talked about like fibrous carbs and starchy carbs and all this sort of stuff. And he just looked at me like blank, like, okay, I'll give you this medication. Like, I don't want this freaking medication. Do you know what I mean? So, so yeah, it's interesting.
That's what doctors do, is they just throw drugs at you, because they aren't trained in a lot of areas. I knew nutrition. I've been in medical school. That was like a 1 day class, one lecture on nutrition, and then they moved on to some other topic the next day. You know, they're not, they can't know everything about every subject. And I don't think, I don't hold them accountable for that. That's not their area of expertise. But going to your doctor, that's going to be, they're going to suggest surgical routes like the gastric bypass. They're going to suggest
Mhm.
weight loss drugs, appetite suppressants, things like that. But you know, there are a lot of effective ways to do it, and I think our industry is we're so much more in tune with how to
Mhm.
change the body, how to lose fat, how to gain muscle than
Yeah.
pretty much any other industry because that's what we do. Is we're chasing physical perfection.
I mean, after I lost my dad in November, like so I went to the doctor's just for a general, and he was like, "Do you want some antidepressants?" I'm like, "No, I don't want antidepressants." I said, I'll get myself back on track, by just, sort of exercise and sort of just getting back into my normal routine because I'm in a bit of a spin at the moment. But it was just, what was that? I remember hearing a story years ago about this doctor that put the whole town. He prescribed the whole town. I think they were on.
My gosh,
Not Vicodin. It was something like Vicodin. It was what's the really
Xanax, Prozac,
Prozac? Yeah, he put the
yeah.
whole town on Prozac. They'd come to him with like a sore leg, and he'd give him Prozac because he just thought, well, if everyone's happy, everyone's fine. And it's like, yeah, but once you're on that, you're dependent on that for happiness. Do you know what I mean? It's like some people have their own crutches with things like like medications and not just drugs but medications. Do you know what I mean? And I just think it's a really slippery slope. I understand if you're already clinically obese or clinically depressed, then you might, and there's some chemical imbalance, then yeah, maybe you might need some medication. But I think sometimes the medical profession, I think it readily too much. So I think some people just want a quick fix. They don't want to be educated. They're not really interested. They just want something that they can take or so they can feel better and at least in the short term, but it's not helping the long-term problem, is it?
Now, because I don't think we pissed off enough people yet, and I really would like to piss off more people, the last aspect of it I want to talk about is this whole fat acceptance and fat shaming being looked down upon. It seems to me to be a sort of gender-based thing towards favoring women. Like you'll see heavy women on the cover of Cosmo or Sports Illustrated. We're celebrating all body types and body acceptance, and this everybody is beautiful. But why aren't we seeing any overweight men? Why is it only women? I still hear men being called fat. If a man is fat, someone calls him fat in a Facebook comment, I don't think anything happens. If you say that on a comment on a woman, Facebook will shut you down. You're going to have your account, you're going to be suspended for a day or maybe blocked forever. I don't know why it's being pushed so much more on women, this fat acceptance, because there's plenty of overweight men. Plenty. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I watch all these posts on social media about Lizzo,
Yes.
you know, I mean,
Yeah.
she's pretty much okay with herself and she's pretty confident and stuff. And I think that's great,
That's
but
fine. Sure.
yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, I would never like attack someone. Like I would never put a comment or call her a horrible name or something because I think that's a bit insensitive.
Sure.
But yeah, I see what you say because Rick Collins. You see what he posted on? He said there's dad bod mannequins now. There's mannequins with big bellies
Yeah.
in shops in America. I mean, I'd love to see that. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I haven't seen one yet, but I follow. There's a YouTube channel called Pearl Daily. She's a young woman who's in the UK. She's American, and she does like a panel, podcast all the time. And they've talked about Lizzo many times, where they go around the room and ask women, rate Lizzo. Is she from 1 to 10 in beauty? And they say she's a 10. And Pearl shuts them down. She says she can't be a 10 because she's morbidly obese.
Mm,
A pretty woman, but how can you say that's the standard of beauty? Because if you ask men are going to be honest, unless they have a camera on them. They don't want to look like a shallow jerk. But you ask a man, look at him. If Lizzo was 140 pounds versus 300 pounds, which one do you prefer? Every man except for a very very small amount who do for whatever reason prefer heavy women. He's going to say the smaller version, and I think to push this narrative that every woman is a 10 and every body size is beautiful again, it's great to be confident, love yourself, love your body, but if it's going to keep you in delusion, it's going to keep you unhealthy. That's not a good thing because you're telling these people, don't worry about it, don't worry about diabetes or heart disease. Don't worry about that. Just keep being you, and your body is beautiful. It's not healthy, and that's the bottom line. Is we can't encourage people to be unhealthy.
mm. Well, I was watching my favorite talk show the other day, and this was kind of similar thing. And there's a woman who rang in and said, I've been smoking since I was 12. I'm 73 now. She said, I've got no health problems. I'm perfectly healthy. And the woman on the panel said, basically said, bullshit. She says, you are an anomaly that, but, tomorrow you could wake up with, blood on your, coughing up blood, and that's it. You could have 8 weeks to live. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same. It's the same with these situations. Like my sister, she said, like, I really need to lose weight. She says, because it's not healthy for me to be like this. I don't want to be like this. She's a very confident person, very happy person, but she knows that she'll feel a hell of a lot better if she loses, 70, 80 pounds. Do you know what I mean? So you can't be in denial and say you're healthy and stuff like that, because I mean, look at the health problems I've had. I'm not overweight. Like when I was in Ireland in the hospital, they were like, I was in shape, I had veins up my abs, and they're like, you don't fit the bill. You're not 60. You're not overweight. You don't smoke. You've got no family history. It's like, what are you?
What is this Giles thing? But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, I'd love to have all the answers, but again, I don't think anyone I don't think anyone who is massively overweight would really prefer not to be. I think they would all love to be healthier and smaller. They don't know how, or they have mental issues. There's a lot of things that are in the way of getting them healthier and getting them to lose weight. But those are things that probably need to be worked on. Again, I'd like to see more encouragement of therapy, because I think a lot of it is psychological. I think people have had trauma, they've gone through abuse, and these are reasons that they turn to food for comfort. Maybe that's the only thing in their life that gives them pleasure or makes them feel safe. There's all kind. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's probably where we need to turn, because we're not going to make people suddenly want to start working out or start dieting. The switch has to happen mentally first.
Well, it all comes down to education, doesn't it? And I think that's the key. That's why I think it's really important for people, like in the public eye, to be, sort of fit and healthy and kind of and advocate that, because it's just one of those things, isn't it? It was just, I think, yeah.
Well, I keep saying the final thing, but the final thing I want to mention, they've taken away physical education classes from most of U.S. schools.
Really?
We used to have to go to gym class, PE, whatever you called it. I think we used to have to go every day, and they've taken it out of schools and saying, well, the parents can make, they can have the kids exercise, and they're not going to do that once the kids are out of school. And I saw someone posted on Facebook, gym class in the 1950s in the U.S., and it was, monkey bars, like the elevated ladder, like that. They showed a whole line of young kids, like 14, 15, up in the air, traversing across these monkey bars, which, requires a lot of upper body strength, and you can't be too heavy probably, or you wouldn't be able to do it. There's no way we could find a whole classroom of kids in an American school that could do that now. There's no way. They're indoor cats. They don't go out. When I was a kid, we were very active. We were outside climbing trees, riding bikes, running around the neighborhood. These kids now, the parents, they don't leave the house. They're inside on watching YouTube, playing video games, God knows what, but they don't move much. They just sit there watching screens and eating, and it's scary. It's sad to me. I'm very happy that my kids are not overweight, because what do you do? I mean, sometimes I look at, I hate to say this, but if I'm out at a store and I see a family with really overweight kids, I'm judging the parents. I'm like, how can you let this happen? You're letting this happen. You're feeding those kids letting them eat all these wrong foods. You're letting them be inactive. You're the parent. You're in charge of, your number one job as a parent is the health and safety of that child. That's your number one priority, and you're failing. You're setting these kids up right now. They're unhealthy now, and it's not like they're going to suddenly turn around. Most of these kids are going to be overweight for their entire lives.
When I was in a previous relationship, I was like, I brought up her son, and he was a really smart kid. And I really, really, like, he was really inquisitive about nutrition, because he would see what I was eating, especially when I was prepping, and he really absorbed it. I told him all about protein, carbs, fats, and it was, and he was super healthy. In fact, his favorite meal was baked salmon with soy sauce and broccoli. That was his favorite meal. That's what he wanted.
Good boy.
And I was like, because I explained it to him, and I said, because he'd see me eating it, and and I'd say, I'll make you something else. I'll get you a pizza or something like that. He goes, no, I want that. I want what you're having. So, because I mean, when do you ever see like skinny parents and then two really fat children? You never see it. But the thing is, there are, like you said, there are like where I live here. I mean, there's a lot of gyms, but they're all empty. You know,
Yeah.
people are very overweight in my area in Yorkshire. I mean, there's a farm shop, and it's all kind of like Yorkshire foods. And I mean, I go there for the vegetables and the meats. But like, there's like a full rate. There's a full aisle of like all these different pies
The
and
bakery
yeah,
section.
and yeah, and just and pastries and all these things. I mean, they look beautiful. Do you know what I mean? But like the typical kind of the kind of food around here is very, very, very unhealthy. But also something else. I mean, back in like when I was a kid, you'd have like one overweight kid or two
Yes.
overweight kids in the whole year.
The whole
Now it's
school.
like half of them.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I hate to say it, but we would be like, that's the fat kid in our grade. Like we would have a grade of 100, 200 kids, and there'd be like one really big kid. That was it. Maybe
Yeah.
two. And now, I've my kids are older now. They're 23 and 29, but I remember even going from kindergarten all the way through, because watching the progression, and I saw kids getting heavier even in that span of time. I saw a change. It was already very different from when I was a kid, but even in the 12 years my kids were in school, I watched their friends and their classmates, and I saw kids are getting bigger and bigger. There's more and more heavy kids now. It's a bad trend. Obviously, it's the worst trend.
I mean, do you know what there's actually something really good happened the other week. I went to Newcastle with Lauren, and we stopped off at the services, and I was like, oh God, I hate going to the services because much when I'm hungry, because it's like Pizza Hut, Burger King, McDonald's. It's crap food that I can't eat because I've been diabetic. I'd rather go hungry. I'd rather just grab a protein bar or a bottle of water or something and then just starve until I get where I'm going. But then they had a Nando's at the service
Oh,
station. And I was
wow.
like, oh my God. You know me with Nando's, I got so excited.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah.
So I just ordered a half chicken with rice, and then a bottle of water, and I was like, I'm so happy. Now that's a bit of a positive change.
Oh,
Things like the protein bars, like the grenade bars, and all these new protein bars. I mean, they're everywhere now. I mean, you can get those at every service station in the UK. I mean, I mean, back home in Wales, I didn't even have a gym in my town. I go back now, and there's like several of them.
there you go.
So there is no excuse really. Do you know what I mean? There's some, these pure gyms and all these types of gyms, like £10 a month and stuff like that, open 24 hours. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
So,
I mean, I had to, when I was a teenager, from the age of like 13 to 23, if I wanted to train anything other than arms, which I trained in my bedroom, I'd have to get on a bus and go for an hour to the nearest town, like Hereford or Newport,
mm,
just to get to the gym. And I did that several times a week. I used to hitchhike back on a Friday night from Chepstow, just to sort of go train some shoulders at a gym I liked.
wow. Well, I just want to close this by saying to all of you watching this, you're the fit people out there. You're the people who go to the gym and you eat right. It is your responsibility, whether you like it or not, to sort of spread the message, the gospel of fitness and good eating, healthy eating, especially to the people out there who need it the most. And I don't want you making fun of overweight people or judging them. I know it's hard. It's easy to look at someone like that and sort of look down at your nose and that lazy so and so, they abusing their body. They need help. They need help. If you can help any of these people, everyone out there watching it, take it upon yourself to do it. If you can change one life, if you can get one overweight person to lose weight and get healthy, that's a win. And if we all did it for just one person, can you imagine all the fit people? If you could influence just one or two or three people, how many people we could reach and help?
Start with your family members, because there's
Yeah.
always someone in your family that is, that you could help, that you could, like my dad wasn't overweight, but I said, like, don't you put salt on your food there, and you only eat once a day, maybe you should eat more frequently. And but there's, I mean, for me though, I mean, aside from being diabetic, I mean, sugar, if you just halved, if you made that like a conscious effort to just half the amount of sugar you eat, that's a really good first step. And also exercise is, it doesn't have to be going to the gym and squatting 300 pounds, or running a marathon. It can just be any form of movement that you enjoy. you
Take
know
take
and
your
that makes,
overweight, take your overweight family member on walks around the neighborhood.
yeah. I
Anything.
mean,
If they're not doing anything, any physical activity is better than no physical activity. And a lot of you guys, and girls out there, you have home workout equipment because of the pandemic. Once you get them a little acclimated to just a little bit,
yep.
bump it up. A couple little, little squats with 5 pound
Anything,
dumb,
anything.
anything. Get them exercising. You're all capable of being personal trainers out there. You all train yourselves, and a lot of you've trained others. you can do it for your family. And, who better to help than your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your child, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, the people that you love, that you want to be around longer, and,
Mhm.
enjoy in this brief life that we have.
Because I tell you what, you won't value your health until it goes. Do you know what I mean? That's when people really do. Because, you might be like I did crazy things in my 20s, but if I carried on, I'd be dead. Do you know what I mean? Because I realized, okay, in your 20s, you're indestructible. You maybe get away with it. You don't even think about it. You don't even get affected by it. But then the 30s come, and then the 40s come, and then things start to happen. Like it certainly like it has with me. And I'm someone that's always eaten pretty sensibly. Do you know what I mean? And always exercised. Yet still things happen to me that were unexpected. By everyone. So look after your health. I asked Ronnie that. I said, "What's the most important thing to you?" And he says health. He said health is everything. He says, like he was talking about his mobility, and he says, I really want my mobility back. He said that's one thing I want more than anything. So I mean,
Yeah, we
imagine being someone
focus.
like Ronnie Coleman, like squatting 800 pounds, and there you are turning up places in a wheelchair. It must really hurt him.
Yeah, and like I said, when they say your health is your wealth, if you're in poor health, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter. You have a mansion, Lamborghinis, yachts. If you're feeling horrible and miserable all the time and you're in terrible health, you would give anything. You would trade all of that to look and feel, to have your health back, and to be healthy and vital again. I've talked to people in that situation. They said that to me. I would trade it all if I could just be healthy. And unfortunately, most of these people I'm talking about, they didn't live much longer than that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, it's a good place as any to end it, I suppose, talking about the end. So, want to encourage everyone to check out all the other programming. MD Global Muscle every Wednesday at 9:15. Amazing interview show. Check out the last one with Samson, Dauda, and Derek Farnsworth that was posted last Wednesday. We got Buff Bomb Show. We got Brazilian Beat, MD Muscle Talk, Fact Attack, No Way Jose, Ron Line Report. Sometimes I do an Ask the Giant Killer. I do Ask the Texas Oak, Logan Frank. There's all kinds of stuff, guys. So hit that notification bell in the corner there so you know when we put it out. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up. Click on that for the likes. Leave a bunch of comments below. I know I probably triggered some of you, and I'm prepared to take the heat, guys. So is Giles. So leave some comments for us. We're trying to be in the best. We're speaking the best interest of humanity here, because we're all one big human race. We want us all to be healthy and live forever. So that's it. Closing words, Giles.
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Giles, for taking the time. MD Power Hour, another one wrapped up. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey, did you like that new podcast? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.